My name is Jonathan Warner. I'm going to be talking about Google Glass. In terms of hardware, it's got basically this little prism thing right here, which has sort of a projector that then shoots light into a piece of glass that then sort of floats a screen above your vision. And then it's got basically a whole bunch of different things, like a little camera on it for taking pictures, and a little touchpad on the side for navigating the device. It's got like a bone conducting speaker that sort of like touches the side of your skull and sort of produces sound that way in sort of a less annoying manner than just having like an actual speaker on it. So basically, on the screen, obviously you can see basically what's showing up in the corner of my vision. Obviously, like the black is really just transparent, but it's sort of a good representation. It's what's on the screen. So. All right, so in terms of out-of-the-box functionality, basically, this is the home screen. When you look up, usually there's nothing on the screen, but if you like tip your head up, then the screen will light up and you'll get like this sort of home screen going on that tells you the current time. It has the phrase, "Okay, glass." When you say that, it brings up like a little menu, and you can like tip your head and see what different things are on the menu. And you can say something like, "Take a picture." Take a picture. It doesn't like it. And there I have a picture. Then I can be like, "Okay, glass, send it to Ivy Paget." Ivy Paget, yeah. So noticeably, it's actually kind of lagging up right now because it doesn't really like being broadcasted over Bluetooth and then being scrutinized like that. But yeah. So basically, Glass is essentially like a smartphone that you can have on your face. I wasn't talking to you. It's an attention whore. So basically, yeah, so Glass is basically a smartphone that you can have on your face. And as such, it sort of gives you the ability to access the digital world without having to interrupt your experience in the physical world. So you don't have to like pull out your phone and go like, "Hold up, I got to see if I got this email or not." And you don't need to have like your notification sounds going off and annoying people, and you don't need to really do a whole lot of physical things to interact between the digital and physical worlds. So it does a lot of the things that you would expect a smartphone to do. For example, like I just sent a picture over to Ivy, and you can send and receive messages. I can swipe over and look at some photos that I've taken. And then whatever else might be in here. I guess like my conversation, there's probably some emails in here and stuff. I was really not liking being streamed. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, see, it doesn't like what I'm doing to it. Yeah, it wants me to chill out. All right. But yeah, so the main idea of this device is basically to give you access to information on the fly and be able to sort of integrate your experiences between different worlds. And so they have sort of this ridiculous amount of sensors and hardware and stuff that they integrate together, all for the purpose of just trying to make your life easier. So it does some pretty cool things, like it can be like, "Okay, Glass. Okay, Glass. Google, what is Avogadro's number?" And it will go and pull that off of Google and tell me that it's hopefully hasn't changed anytime soon.
Was it reading the tape?
Yeah, it was reading the number of zeros.
I thought it was very good.
Yeah, you can't really get that, but yeah, it was trying to do its best to pronounce that number. So you can ask the information like that. Obviously, it being a Google product, it integrates in with like Google Now and stuff pretty well. So for example, I can go over, not that. Tomorrow it knows I have a calculus final, because that's on my calendar. It also knows that it's 80 degrees in Orlando. And earlier it had like a little card that was saying, it had like a map and was pointing me where I needed to be to get here, because it went and data mined my Gmail account and saw that I was going to a TechTalk thing. It was like, oh, now would be a good time to leave, and it gave me directions and information like that. So it all integrates in with Google Now. And then you can ask it sort of contextual questions like, okay, Glass, Google, do I need an umbrella tomorrow? And there it gives me the forecast, and it answers the question like on the headset and says, no, you don't need one. There's no rain scheduled then, because the weather's scheduled and stuff. So it does some pretty cool stuff like that. You can send messages with it. You can pull information. You can read your email, and you can browse the web if you really wanted to. It's got like a browser built into it, and you can like touch the side of your face and like browse around a website and like sort of look around like a zombie. But because it's complaining about being too hot, I'm not going to put it through that stress. So it does some pretty cool things just in terms of the basic functionality. But if I'm going to be wearing a computer on my face, it should probably do a little more than just sort of giving my emails and stuff. So in terms of hacking around, there are basically two main paths of development for this device. The first one being the Mirror API, which is a RESTful endpoint that runs on Google servers that you can communicate with using JSON and OAuth. So it's basically the same deal as like the Canvas API, where you generate a token or like a callback login page to authenticate with the application, and then you can just send data to Google servers, and then Google servers will then take your JSON and send it over to Glass. So you don't really have to do anything physically on the device. You can just communicate using any language or library and tell the device to do things. So for example, I have this little thing. This is a Node.js application that's basically going to pull from this one API that has the Bitcoin average, and it's going to go generate an HTML template. It's going to go generate and fill out this HTML template, and then go and send all that data back over to Google server, and then Google server is going to go push that to my device. So if I run this, well, something got messed up at some point. Oh, okay, so for whatever reason, that particular API is not returning the JSON it expects it to be returning. So I'll just fill in some dummy data in here. And see if it'll run now. And there we go. Well, regardless, there's the data that basically Google servers then returned that and said, all right, you created this object. And then over on Glass, we have this sort of, crazy messed up looking HTML that I've sent to it because for whatever reason the API went down at the most convenient time of all. But basically the idea is you can then send HTML cards onto the device that'll show up in your in your vision. So if you need information, like say if your instructor sends you a message on Canvas, then you can go push that data onto Glass, and then you'll get like a notification on it. This is all done just using HTML and JSON, so it can be integrated in basically any language. It's agnostic. So like a practical example of this, I built this little application that basically gives me server statistics every 5 minutes from my server and lets me know about my loads and my RAM and stuff like that. And clearly, I have issues. So I get a nice reminder of that about every 5 minutes. But I can pin this over on the side of my vision, so I can just sort of swipe over and check and see, oh, my server loads look decent. I need to get more RAM or close something. But it gives you that sort of information that you can sort of just push and make it easily accessible. So that's the Mirror API, as they call it, and it's basically, again, it's just a RESTful endpoint that you push JSON to, and can integrate with basically anything. And then they have what's called the GDK, which is the Glass Development Kit, which is Java. It's Android development, but they have a specific SDK that you can run on. You can run applications like on the device and integrate with their special SDKs for creating cards or accessing the device sensors. So it's native APKs that run on the device, and it gives you access to the sensors and the file system and the internet and stuff like that. So I'm going to try probably a pretty dangerous demo. Okay, Glass. Translate this. And this sign is in French. This is glassware someone developed. It's officially available now, that uses this GDK to use the device sensors, then go integrate and try to figure things out. So it sees that there's a word there, and it's going to go read it, and then it's going to replace it with what the word actually is. And so in my vision, I see the sign, but with the actual word on it, rather than what it says. So that's a pretty cool example of what you can use, like the device sensors and integrating with the fact that it's like a augmented reality screen. And there's another example. You can sort of guess what that sign might mean. Another cool example is, of course, barcode scanning. So I can say, okay, Glass, scan a barcode. Take like a million steps back from this thing. And you can see it tracking and realizing there's a barcode. And then it goes and says, hey, you can open this in your browser, and this is a cool site that I think I should check out because it's a nice website. Shameless plug. And then here we get like sort of a view of what the browser looks like. Everything's like significantly slower when you're trying to stream and use your phone's LTE to try to do all this, but it's a good approximation of what's going on. But here we have my website and all the millions of GIFs that are stored on it. So there's the browser, and I can pan around by like tipping my head and touching it and stuff. And apparently I can select stuff. I don't know if that's a feature or a bug, but regardless. So there's some cool things you can do with the GDK if you want to go and dig in and play around with some meaty like Java applications and stuff like that. Oh no. Okay. And then there's, for the cases where you just want to build something and not really have to dig into using Java and building and setting up Gradle or Ant or all the crazy amounts of dependencies that are required to actually build an APK. There are two main little things. One of them is this thing that I made, another shameless plug, but something I developed and that people have been using to develop sort of manual triggers for Glass. So basically you can put in like an app name, give it a trigger like make a sandwich, and then give it the HTML that you want it to load on the device in a web view. So as a practical example, I built something so I could be like, okay, Glass, start media server, or wake up media server. Confused at this point. Okay, Glass, wake up media server. And it's going to do this, and then it's going to go try and connect and send a wake on LAN packet over to my server at home. So if I'm sitting on the couch and I don't feel like moving or touching the remote, there we go. Obviously, it's not going to work because I unplugged my my media server at home, so it wouldn't wake it up. But there you go. So it's sort of a practical, like you can pull data from the web or send data to the web and stuff like that using this sort of this idea of just running HTML. Based on a voice trigger. So this is something Google doesn't like officially support, obviously, but it's sort of an example of things you can use, just sort of like boilerplate. There's also this thing that people developed called WhereScript, which is sort of the same idea of using JavaScript, but they've built an entire library that basically integrates in all the native stuff on Glass, but in JavaScript interfaces. And they even have this cool little playground that basically you can connect to Glass and then it just basically just works. So, well, hoping. See if we can find it. There we go. So this is an AngularJS application that is going to take the accelerometer data and use it to run CSS transformations. Just because I thought it would be fun to run Angular on Glass. So if we go over to the playground, I can then go and and there we go. So basically I have this little cube in my vision, and if I turn my head or tip my head or something, it's doing CSS transformations on this little cube. So this is using an AngularJS scope to then run CSS transformations and use the native sensors all from JavaScript. And this is actually really cool that they've built this sort of IDE that can connect in with Glass directly, and so I can make like little changes to it, maybe change the background of the square to red. Just press Control Enter and it'll just push the update directly onto my device, and now it's red. So it gives you basically full access to the device to mock up and play around and do things with sensors without having to do any work or compiling or anything like that. So this project called WhereScript these people put together, and I've seen some really cool things people have built with it. Just some neat stuff, some stuff. People have been using it to play with like beacons and stuff. They have integration using like the Mayo and stuff all through this, so they can just easily, because JavaScript, there's just a lot less overhead using it. So too boring, didn't pay attention. Glass is an interesting piece of hardware that's relatively easy and fun to develop on. And in terms of resources or curiosity, I have this link here. It's on my website. It's basically a summation of all the information about Glass and the capabilities, and interestingly enough, how to run Glass Launcher on your Android device. Basically, so if you, like most people, don't have Glass, you can experiment and see like what it would be like and stuff. So, any questions?
So, does the customized version of the ADK actually allow you to access like the Android Open accessories? Like the Bluetooth stack?
It does. It gives you basically all the permissions that you would be able to use on an Android phone.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it's pretty open, at least now.
How much of the process?
Huh?
We're people raising their hands. Sorry.
Shay, were you asking me something? No, you're just
Oh.
all right, what are you asking?
How much of the processing happens on Glass as opposed to the phone that it's paired with?
The phone it's paired with basically is just a tether that gives it internet access. It's not even connected to this one right now because it's connected to this computer. So it's an access point, and then it also acts as a Bluetooth headset. So if I get a phone call, I can answer it on here. If I get a text message, the My Glass app will then send like a little message over to here to say, hey, you have a notification. But yeah, everything's done between Glass and the cloud, basically. Anything else?